For his long years of service, Sam Fisher gets a promotion in Splinter Cell Blacklist. He's back in the special ops suit, but no longer just the lone field agent. Now he's also a manager in the newly formed agency, 4th Echelon.
I was sworn to protect the American people, but I can't do that without you.
So when a bunch of international terrorists team up to hit America with a series of escalating attacks, it's him in the green goggles in charge of making that a thing that doesn't happen.
We're not gonna stop this attack. We're gonna stop all the attacks.
When Splinter Cell Blacklist arrives this August, it'll be the last Splinter Cell game of this generation, and the first from the new Ubisoft mega studio in Toronto. That's where we went to talk to Max Bellan, the game's creative director. First of all, there's the lingering issue of torture. Last summer, when Ubisoft took the wraps off Splinter Cell Blacklist, one interactive torture scene drew scorn for trivialising a hot-button topic.
I think at E3 we showed some interrogation where the player was in control, and what we realized, and especially me, is that we were saying certain things with that scene that were not what our main focus was about. So we decided to remove the interactivity from certain of those scenes to better support what we were really talking about and inside the game. So the scenes are obviously still there, but we've removed the interactivity from them.
If you cast your mind all the way back to the last game, Splinter Cell Conviction from 2010, you'll recall some other interrogation scenes. It's from these, says Max, that Blacklist's own violent interrogation evolved, but leaning ever further from a bit of a one-sided bathroom brawl to full-on torture.
On Conviction, we had some interrogations also, right? And it was really about bashing and all that. And one thing that we realized was that people kind of liked the first one, but then they kind of saw the formula of the interrogations, which was just, you walk around and you bash the guy. We tried to have more variety in the interrogations. That led to different gameplays that we had. And then when we look at the whole thing, at one point we were just like, are we comfortable with this? Is this something we're happy with, we're proud about? And is this, more importantly for me as a creator, I want to make sure that the subjects I talk about, the touches the themes that we support in the gameplay and in the story are things that I'm comfortable talking about, and then I'm doing in a responsible and a respectful way. And at one point we just looked at it and we're like, okay, I think this is interesting, this is cool, but this is not what the game's about. And for me, it's Splinter Cell Blacklist is there to entertain people. We've got a great story, we've got some amazing actors, the technology, the gameplay is cool, and then suddenly, people were just talking about that little thing, which for us, I guess it wasn't as big in our heads as it became, right? So at one point you're just like, okay, well, do we really want to say this or not? Is this the time to do it? And then so yeah, we removed the interactivity. So the story's the same, but you're not in control of those scenes.
TV show like 24 or like a movie like Zero Dark 30 can do that, and it will receive attention, but that won't be the only thing that people fixate on. Do you think it's still something that games have a tougher time with?
Well, I think for me, I love games because I think that we are a stronger medium because people are in control, right? Our gamers are in control, so it's not a passive medium, it's an active medium. And because of that, I think that we're more powerful, which puts on us a greater responsibility, right? I'm not making games because I want to make, murder simulators. I don't want to make games that teach people how to do things that, we don't want them to do. I want to make games because I want to entertain people. I want to tell them a great story. I want them to have fun. I want them to play with their friends. And for me, I think that if I want to have a discussion about torture or I'll definitely pick my moment, my game, my brand, and I'll make sure that I do it in a way that it's the subject of what I'm talking about. I think that I don't know if you saw Zero Dark 30, but I think that the movie was amazing. It talked a bit about that, and I think it was interesting. It got a lot of press and got a lot of negative press because of it, but at the same time I think that our medium is ready to tackle those greater subjects, right? It's not just about collecting coins and things like that. So I think it's okay to do it, but I think as creators we need to do it in a responsible way.
Moving on, for those Splinter Cell fans who didn't care about waggling the left stick to violate the Geneva Convention, there was the issue of how bright and sunny that same early demo appeared. not at all like the dark and shadowy levels in which Sam Fisher usually goes to work.
At E3 last year, the idea was to show something different. We wanted to show that it's possible to make a Splinter Cell game in daylight, right? And you can totally hide, you can totally do some stealth in daylight. At the same time, I think we scared some people because they were like, what is this? It's a Splinter Cell with the sun, right? So what we're trying to do now is showing the other part of the game. You know, most of the maps are at night, obviously. So we're showing that extra content. I think one of our big goals, like when we started working on the game, was variety. Like, I think me as a player, I get bored if a game is rinse and repeat the same thing, right? So we were trying to build a Blacklist with a lot of variety inside it. So, you know, daylight maps, nighttime maps, you know, maps in North America, maps around the world, maps that are interior, maps that are exterior. So we really tried to mix it a lot.
Do you find yourself sort of walking on eggshells with those really hardcore Splinter Cell fans?
Well, it's always hard to please everyone. And a good example is the play styles, right? We talk about the play styles in Blacklist, and we talk about the ghost players, right? But even that is something that everybody that is a ghost player in his head plays it differently. So we at one point we asked our community, you know, what's playing a ghost, and some people were like, oh, as long as you're never detected by the enemies, then you're a ghost. Some people were like, no, you cannot ever distract anyone, you cannot touch them, you cannot do anything to be the perfect ghost. Others were like, oh no, it's okay if you take out guys as long as you don't kill them. If you do non-lethal takedowns, it's okay, right? So already, like, we realized that, holy smokes, like, everybody has a very different vision of what it is to be the perfect Splinter Cell, you know, the perfect Sam Fisher. So we've got the Ghost playstyle, we've got the Assault playstyle, and we've got the Panther playstyle. But with those in mind, I think we're supporting a lot of variety in the way players want to play, and will ultimately play and have fun.
These three distinct playstyles, Ghost, Panther and Assault, are identified and rewarded separately by the game. Ghost is for the ninja style super stealther, Panther is for the sneaky killer,
Drone is locked.
and Assault is for the guns blazing shooty player. Your rewards buy you new gear in the game's customization-driven economy, in which you can tinker with Sam's suit, kit him out with spy gadgets and weapons, and change the colour of his goggle lights. This is where I'd put footage of Sam in pink goggles, if I had any. I don't. Meanwhile, for the hardcore, obsessively compulsively stealth purists, there's Perfectionist mode.
What we're doing for those guys is we've got a mode that we call Perfectionist. So it's a difficulty mode that's called Perfectionist, and we're doing a lot of things in that mode to really, you know, go get the purest of the purest. So obviously, you know, the game's going to be harder. So the AI is going to see you faster. They're going to take you out very fast. But we're removing the execute ability. So you can still mark enemies to track them, but you can't execute anymore. We've removed the last known position. We've removed the fact that your goggles can see through walls, so suddenly you really need to track, you know, your enemies and really be aware of where they are. So we've got a game, you know, a game difficulty mode definitely for the purists.
More good news for long-time Splinter Cell fans is the game's multiplayer brings back Spies vs Mercs, the asymmetric stealthy versus shooty competitive online action that was the most requested feature for this game. I've got a separate video to show you lots of that, so click the link in or below the video to see more Spies v Mercs. Finally, a word on the personal story versus the political overtones of Splinter Cell Blacklist. On the one hand, it's a tale of Sam Fisher learning to trust after being manipulated by Grimm in the last game, and mentoring young Briggs, who is a former CIA man and now Sam's protege and co-op partner. There's more on the co-op mode in another video, by the way. Hit up the link in or below this video to see all about that. Anyway, Sam's got his own little crew aboard the Paladin, their flying headquarters. Kind of like Nick Fury and S.H.I.E.L.D. actually, now I think about it. And it's to the Paladin that you skip back between missions to talk to Sam's staff and pick his next move. So, Sam's new managerial role is at the heart of the story. It's about him becoming a leader.
For Conviction, we had this dual layer of the story. Yes, you know, like you were trying to stop the Megiddo group from assassinating the president and putting the VP in place. But what the story was really about, it was about Anna Grimsdottir manipulating Sam through the death of his daughter to do the greater good. So she was doing something bad for the greater good, and that's what the story was about. It was Sam going after the killer of his daughter, realizing that didn't really happen, right? So that for me, that was the real story. So on Blacklist, yes, the story is about Sam stopping the blacklist from happening, but more importantly, it's about Sam becoming a leader. It's about the team that starts at the beginning. At the beginning, they're not a team. They're a couple of guys in a plane together, right? And then at the end, they're a team, right? So they went through this process, and that's what the story is about. It's about Sam learning to become a leader. It's about Sam learning to work with others, to trust others, and also Sam to teach other people what it means to have the fifth freedom and to be in control and to have the authority, to do whatever it takes.
On the other hand, on the political side, Max says the game's plot was also inspired by America's role on the world stage and how it has troops stationed in 2/3 of all countries.
The Americans, they have the saying, united we stand, divided we fall, right? And I was like, what if the terrorists use that? Like if you're not and terrorists, a country, a rogue nation, whatever, like you need to realize that for certain people, we're the bad guys. Yeah, for certain people, Sam is a terrorist, and they are the hero, right? So it's all a question of perspective. So I think for us, it was very interesting to go ahead and be like, hey, what if, maybe, the United States are so big and so powerful. If you're just one country, one nation against the United States, maybe you can't do anything. But what happens if they all start talking together and then they band together and suddenly, instead of being just a couple of countries, well, they're 10, 15, and then they start, and they give an ultimatum to the United States. And yeah, I think it's when Richard told me that the United States have armed troops in more than 2/3 of the countries in the world, I was like, wow, I didn't know that. That's crazy. And understand, they have troops in Canada, and we're not at war with the United States, but it's still like it's something that makes you wonder. So I don't think this game is about judging that. Like I don't want to judge, but at the same time, like maybe it's okay to ask the question: is it okay that we mind our own business everywhere else, right? So I think it's a good question to ask, and I'll let someone else answer that question.